Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming by on this chilly April morning. Hope you're all staying safe in your own homes. I sure am. I don't have much of a reason to go out of my home on a normal day, so let's keep the quarantine jokes to a minimum and let's get back into the music. Whoa! Where'd it go? Aha! This is LaTour's self-titled album, LaTour. It's released in 1991 by Smash Records Productions Incorporated. It's an interesting look into house and dance music in the early 90s. Coming out of the States, this album borrows ideas that were coming out of Europe at the time and brings them forward to a more Western audience. I could see this thing being played in lots of dark clubs and bars in the years after its release. This album starts off with a driving, industrial, poppy, Alan's Got a New Hi-Fi. The song gets you up, grooves along steady, but wears you out pretty fast, and you end up sitting back down before those synth organ chords play their last note. I think the issue here is there's just too many things going on. The vocals on top of everything else is seemingly unnecessary at this point, as it doesn't complement the track's synthed out backing. The powerful backbeat makes everything almost disorienting. Strangely enough, there is a remix of this song tacked onto the end of the album that does the song a whole lot better justice. Opens it up, makes it feel a lot less forced, and I think it should have been the preferred and only version of this track included on this album. It hops right to the chase with their biggest hit, probably the only hit of LaTour's existence. People Are Still Having Sex. It's a confrontational track that makes a bold statement. With lines like "this AIDS thing's not working," it's a line that even today demands a reaction. This groovy electro dance hit progresses simply, methodically, smoothly, and it's still a dance-worthy hit. From here, LaTour tries its hand at more of a poppy vibe dance track that's a little slower and darker than the other tracks. The track's called Involved, and it asks a lot of interesting questions. The lyrics are probably the most substantive that you find on the album, and it tells an interesting story, but unfortunately I don't think this is LaTour's wheelhouse. The dance hall electro beat backtracks are really where he shines, and his proficiency in that regard might overshadow even his other attempts at other genres. It doesn't stick to a pop sound as it transitions back into the simple, monotonous club beat that lasts probably a minute or two too long on the appropriately named track for today, Cold. It fits in with the album's 90s club background filler music vibe that perpetuates most of this LP. Fantasy Soldiers is a catchy track with some pretty interesting lyrics about fame and paparazzi and surveillance in general, with some fun sampling. It's a little all over the place, but still not a terrible track. From there, it's on to something a little more upbeat, empowering, something that tells you to be you and be happy to be you, with the song Amazing You. It's a building, fist-bumping anthem that even includes a synth bagpipe solo that makes bagpipes fun? Normally they just make me sad. It makes me nostalgic for a time I never even lived, when everyone roller skated around an arena and just danced along to the music. The closest feeling you can get to that now is maybe a night skate. A fun little experiment on this next track, Lorry Monster. Another darker house track that's fun and interesting in the sense that it takes on a horror house vibe. Lyrically, it's poorly written about essentially staying away from an ugly, entitled girl. The backbeat is great though. It's full of eerie synths and ringing telephones and follows you around quite effectively. It doesn't really seem to go anywhere once it's grabbed hold and got its groove going and its creepy little vibe. This is sort of a turning point in the album where things become a little creepier, more uncomfortable, a little bit less organized, and I think really takes away from the overall appeal of this relatively fun bump-in album. The next two tracks, Psych and Dark Sunglasses, are a couple of tracks that feel like sort of a raver girl's nightmare, where the first one, there's lyrics like, your mouth says no, 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 but your eyes say yes, yes, yes. As a listener, it makes me uncomfortable, and I can't imagine actually dancing with someone or wanting to dance with someone while this song was on. And Dark Sunglasses, as I mentioned, creepy, weird, bad, sort of combination of a Christmas song and a Corey Hart hit. This one's probably the most skippable on the album. Thankfully, the last track is another tried and true LaTour hit. House, banger, backbeat. It was actually included in the club scene in Basic Instinct. It bumps along, no lyrical intervention, and these soft, smooth synths that subtly creep into the room. Once again, this track suffers from being dragged out too long like many of the other tracks, but this one is simple enough, can allow you to doze off a little bit, come back, and the song will still be on, and you won't feel like you've missed out on much. Like I mentioned, there's a couple bonus mixes at the end of this album. Remixes of the first two tracks. The remix of Alan's Got a New Hi-Fi is excellent, and the remix of People Are Still Having Sex feels like an excuse just to include this hit on the album again. It's a fun song, but after listening to this album a few times, it really wears thin and the novelty just isn't there anymore. After those few listens, I'm pretty bored with this album, and honestly I can say it kind of fills a slot where if you're having a 90s club throwback house party, this thing is the perfect backtrack. I wouldn't recommend paying more than 50 cents for this probably. That said, still happy to have picked it up and gotten a little introduction into early 90s house music. And if you want to listen to it, hopefully I've linked it down below. If not, maybe send me a message and I'll get you a copy. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Hope your day is great. Thanks for stopping by One Man's Tracks.